Hell yeah.
Welcome to Camp Okayest, powered by X2 Power, X2 batteries, which you heard last week on the show. We talked to Shaun Ridder of X2, some amazing info on lithium battery technology and how it can help you in the outdoors, no matter what you're doing, from fishing to hunting to camping to just your everyday life and some of the cool products. So check that if you missed it with Shaun Ridder. It's on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch the stream, also wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. Don't forget as well, you can follow us on socials at Camp Okayest anytime to get the latest and more cool behind the scenes stuff that happens in and around the show. But really excited about this week because I'm joined by, I feel like I'm just literally mining every single Okayest podcast network host to be on the show. But like the thing is, and Eric and I touched on this on the initial episode of Camp Okayest, is that there's such a fun, unique, awesome group of people in the entire concept of Camp Okayest. It's just a bunch of people hanging around the bonfire, just chit chatting, just sharing stories and stuff. And that's what I'm about. So that's what we're gonna do. When you've got a bunch of people you have access to that have really awesome, amazing stories, like this guy, Paul Campbell of Turkey Season. The Turkey Season podcast.
Yeah.
By the way, your website, turkeyseason.com, that is awesome.
Thank you, man. Shaun, listen, I've been doing podcasts for going on 4 years, a little over 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done literally hundreds of podcasts. That was like the most professional intro that I've ever had. The music was phenomenal. That was great, man. That was like all of it. That was great. That was exceptional, man. Nice job. I'm happy to be here. I love being a part of the Okayest Hunter podcast network and just and getting to know those guys. And it's the first time we've done anything together. So thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for talking about the website already, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, what do you got in the cup there? Is that coffee?
It is. It's half coffee, half it's like decaf, like half calf or whatever. There you go. Crack it. Is that this is the point in the
Go
what
ahead.
do you got in there? No.
So this is Door County Brewing Company. Their Schlurian Stout, which is fun fact. It's actually the Schlurian Reef, whatever, was actually like a legit reef in Door County, Wisconsin. So they named this dark stout after it. Delicious beer.
Nice.
You can really only get it at the brewery, but more importantly, if you're watching the YouTube stream, you get to see this awesome Okayest Hunter flannel koozie. Do you have any of these, Paul?
I do not. I need to get them. I've seen them on the website. Then those guys, man, and at the Okayest network,
they're pretty
they do the merch right. Yeah, they do it. They do it
but
good.
This can koozie is way better than okay. It's like I've said this to Eric. I'm like, dude, it keeps my hand warm and keeps the drink cold. Like in the Midwest, this is the greatest can koozie I've ever seen.
Without a doubt. Yep, without a doubt.
Now, where are you located, Paul?
So I live in Central Ohio. So I'm born and raised in Central Ohio, man, and fortunate to still call it home. It's I love it here. People are good. The hunting is good. Deer hunting is exceptional here in the Buckeye State. Hopefully we won't talk too much about that, but turkey hunting is also good. The fishing's all right. We got a great lake. We got a big river in the southern half of the state. So yeah, man, it's a good spot.
Now, do you do other outdoor activities other than turkey hunting? I mean, I know that obviously Turkey Season is your podcast, your website. I mean, but I'm certain, just like all of us, we're not pigeonholed into one specific, thing. We do a lot of things, right?
Man, I do. I like to deer hunt a little bit, man. I don't do it a ton. I mean, I went 4 years without deer hunting and I was just fine with that. The last couple of years I've really gotten back into bow hunting and gun hunting, just enjoying time in the woods. Right. And I have a family like a lot of us do. Right. And when I turkey hunt, man, it starts in early March and it ends the first part of June. And it is a lot. And there's a lot of travel and I stress my wife and family out and I'm never going to stop doing that. I love them to death, but turkey hunting is right there, man, in the level of importance. So there's something has to give. Right. And so deer and waterfowl, that's the thing that goes in the back burner. So I deer hunted, I don't know, probably 10 times last year, which for some people, that's a lot, right? For a lot of people, that's not. And 5 of those times were in northern Michigan and the UP, and the other time. And I shot one really nice buck last year. Didn't get any does, unfortunately. But man, that's it. Yeah. So I like to deer hunt. And honestly, outside of turkey hunting, my favorite hunt of the year that we do my friends and my son, we every year, like the last week of the season, we'll go and do a rabbit hunt on public land, and
Oh,
just
that's
there's a
cool.
whole bunch of us, man. It's my favorite thing. Shoot a bunch of rabbits, yeah, we have like a little rabbit cook off, which is fun. So that's like my favorite hunt of the year outside of the turkey hunt. So
That's not something common you hear people say, Paul. Like when you ask, like, what's your favorite thing? Usually people are like whitetail or
yeah.
outside the box. To me, is if you threw a little skittle action at me.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, so I mean, we'll just clarify. Turkey hunting is definitely my favorite, but just like the time in the woods, man. That's like my favorite event of the year, just because my friends are there and family, and it's just a ton of fun. And there's no pressure, right? It's just shooting rabbits the last Saturday of the hunting season, and it's just that's something we've done the last probably 10 years, and it's just something I really enjoy. So yeah, there you go. Turkey's number one, man, without a doubt.
To set the stage for it, I was reading, and I'm
Yeah.
going to read this exact excerpt. I'm going to read this from your website. All right. So this
Okay.
is one of the things. I'm going to not love the imagery of this. All right. So I'm going to read this direct here. Turkey season officially begins the moment I
Yeah.
open my truck door on that first spring hunt, and I'm greeted by the rush of crisp, cold spring air. It's 3 a.m. I didn't sleep a second. The anticipation was too great. I'm nervous. I'm focused. My mind already racing about the day that I hope unfolds. What seems like 10,000 whippers blaring in their nightly calls as I step out of my truck. An owl thunders on the ridge behind me. My heart pounds. My ears strain to hear that first gobble. Whippoorwills seem to call louder. My smile on my face is ear to ear. I grab my vest and shotgun, down the final bits of coffee, lock the truck, and take my first step towards the woods. The smile on my hunt, physically, emotionally, the yearly spring ritual has finally begun. I'm ready.
I love it,
I
man.
love you. Gave me chills when I
Yeah.
read that, so I had to
Yeah.
read that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Thanks for checking that out. It's funny, man. Like the whippoorwill, that's like the first bird of spring. Like, when I get on my truck and I hear that thing ripping, I'm just like, oh man, it's time. And that's just, yeah, I love that first hunt of the year. I'm sure every hunter, regardless or angler, whatever you're chasing, right? That first outing. I mean, that anticipation is like you can't get any higher, and those nerves are there. And man, I've been turkey hunting for dang near 20 years, and I still get those nerves and I still get those jitters on the first hunt. And I've come to, just as I've gotten older and more experienced, I've come to like really enjoy that because it doesn't last, right? It's just that first trip. And then after that, you start to get in the groove, man, and your mind changes. But that first drive whatever state I'm in, I
How
love
many
it, man.
states, Paul, how many states have you hunted in, Paul?
I'm probably pushing like 10, maybe 12 now. I'd have to think about it. I really like turkey hunting the last probably like 6 or 7 years. I've hit the southeastern portion of the state really hard. Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, all those, right? Um, and then just this year, I went west for the first time, which is really cool. I hunted Texas and Nebraska, which was amazing for a freaking flatlander from Central Ohio, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was just spectacular. And then I hunt Michigan every year for turkey and deer. That's just I love hunting that state. And then this year, tomorrow I leave for a Michigan hunt, and then I'm going to Vermont, New York, and Massachusetts, and kind of hit the New England states. I didn't hunt much in the Southeast this year at all. I kind of took a break from that just to experience new ground. That's something that I've put more stock on, not like chasing 49 or whatever. I'm not going to do the US Slam ever, if I had to guess, but just hunting like new territory and terrain that I haven't hunted. That's something that's become more important to me as I get older, man. I mean, dude, I'm 42, right? I'm not going to be climbing hills in the Rocky Mountains for forever,
Hey, if you
So I
keep
want to try to
moving,
get that. Yeah.
you will. Motion is
Yeah.
lotion, man. Motion is
That's
lotion. You
right.
keep going,
Yep.
you'll be able to keep going as long as you can. And as
Yeah,
much as you
that's right.
travel, that's what I love about your website too. It's got a great map locator on it. Literally, you can click
Yeah.
like state by state which you want to go to, and it gives you all the info about seasons. Resource, man. What behind that?
Yeah.
Did you design that yourself? I mean, I got to know because it's really cool.
So well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And so when I started traveling out of state more and more, you're trying to look at season dates, you're trying to look at regulations. And so the way that I kind of like prepare for an out of state hunt, kind of led to that map, right? And so what are the season dates? What are the harvest at? Like the harvest at is one thing that I really focus on. When I look at like the top like 3 counties for harvest for anything deer or turkeys, I'm not going to go there. Just flat out, not going to go there because there's so many people, right? Public pressure is high. So that's something that I started like really diving into when I would travel out of state. And I'm doing e-scouting in December, right? For a hunt in, just Alabama, right? Just use that as an example. So where's the public land available? And then the harvest totals, right? And so I like to get away from a crowd. And that was kind of the one thing that really became a challenge to find that data easily. And like navigating state websites are sometimes like it's cumbersome, right? And so that's what like annoyance, Shaun, is what led to that. And I just threw it out. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, man, I've got this idea for a map. And come to find out, like after we paid to have it built and went through all this process, there's another like competitor, and I'm using air quotes for people that aren't watching the YouTube stream. Great guy, runs another website. And he also created his because of annoyance, so it's like, it was just, I don't know, man. I guess necessity breeds opportunity. So,
Yeah.
but it's been neat, man. It's been neat seeing that all of that information, like that's just version 1 of that. Like it's getting out of control, man, for what's coming down the pipeline for 2025. I'm really excited about that. And just some of the data that we've collected. And, I knew that I was onto something with that when the state agencies are like, hey, you're putting our data in our own data, like you're making it more usable for us. So I know that I'm onto something. So I think that, the turkey hunters in this country I think they're really going to benefit from it. And, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. So that's where that came from. It's just frustration and annoyance trying to scroll through freaking Alabama's website or Mississippi, pick a state, right? You're just like, oh my God, this is terrible, man.
I'll pick on the South because I'm from the North. It's the South, so everything's confusing. Just leave that
right.
there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The most confusing state that I've hunted, turkey hunted, and or deer hunted, without a doubt, is Michigan. Like it's wild, man.
Do you
like
you have family or a tie to Michigan? Because you've mentioned Michigan a lot for deer hunting and turkey hunting.
Yeah, I think it's because I think I'm leaving for it tomorrow, so I'm all geared up about it. I just packed for it. I'm just like Michigan, but no, I've got 2 really really good friends up there in Michigan. I've got Glenn Reich, who lives out of Traverse City, and then Mike Larson, who lives in like Fenville, like the western part of the state. Just really good guys, man. So they're just they're part of the crew, man. They're part of the family. So I go and I love to spend time with those guys and share camp with them. So
please tell me your
whether
buddy
it's
out of Traverse City is a big smallmouth fisherman.
Man, he freaking loves the fly fish. He has I'm gonna plug him if you don't mind. He's got like it's called the Rusty Fly Box is his website. It's a really neat name. But he and for those of you listening that are fly anglers, please do not shoot me or crucify. Like I'm not a fly angler, right? Like I've caught 2 fish on a fly rod. He's got like these boats, like these like flat bottom, like they look like giant rowboats. And if Glenn listens to this, he's gonna freak out.
They're like the
I don't know what
drift
they're
boats.
called. The drift boats, yeah. And so he guides people over, all through, through like Grayling and all that area. And he's an excellent guide and fly angler. So and he got me into hunting Drummond Island a couple years back. Andrew Muntz and I have been traveling up there to hunt with him, and it's just, man, it's beautiful up there. So yeah, that's it, man.
To me, like being where I'm from, growing up in Green Bay, I spent a lot of time in Door County. It's directly across the lake on the other side.
Yeah,
it's so crazy how they're different. Like you've got the rocky shoreline on one side and beautiful sand kind of beach stuff on the other, but the one thing we share is giant smallmouth on both sides. And I say all the time, man, that area like Traverse City is that whole Michigan coast of Lake Michigan is freaking gorgeous. You'd think you're on the Eastern Seaboard.
Man.
You're not in Michigan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the one thing I tell people, like, because we have Lake Erie, and it's not as flat, it's not as rocky. The terrain is totally different than like what you're talking about, like in Lake Michigan, or you get up into Superior. But man, we are like so close from Central High. We're just a short drive to some country, some water that, like you said, you don't realize that you're in the lower peninsula of Michigan or Wisconsin. Like, and it's a really easy drive. So, and and people know about the Great Lakes, but people don't know about the Great Lakes. If you understand what I'm saying, it's not like
100%.
we're not overrun with the people. Like you go out west, you can't find a trailhead to just take a walk on, to hike, and it gets crazy. Like the Great Lakes, man. I like that they're kind of people are like, why would I go to Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin for vacation? Well, keep saying that.
Well, and like
So,
even the aspect of just respect of the water, that's the one thing that I talk about time with is people don't realize that's an inland ocean. I mean,
oh,
especially
absolutely.
Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Ontario, like these are giant lakes, very deep. I
Yeah.
mean, weather and waves can change in an instant. You've got to be on your toes and know what you're doing. Don't make if you're going to be over your skis at all, you do not belong out on that body of water.
No,
You've got to
man.
respect it. It's not like a small local
Yeah.
pond type thing. And
Yeah.
some
It's
people
not an
don't.
inland reservoir. Yeah,
No,
that's for sure.
no, not at all. It is a force to be reckoned with. And
Yeah.
again,
And I'm
being a
with you.
kid
Oh,
that grew
sorry.
up
Go ahead.
there, I say being a kid that grew up on that body of water, it can be very unforgiving, very
Yeah.
unforgiving.
Yeah. And football size smallmouth to boot, man, are a ton of fun. So
Yeah,
I
we got
love it.
into those a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. You
We
had
talked
some,
about that a
yeah.
lot on the show here.
Yeah. You had some pigs that were pulling out. That was cool.
A lot bigger up there, a lot
My
bigger.
goodness.
So
Man, that's
it
wild.
was nice for me
Yeah.
to go
It's
back.
cool.
I now live in Milwaukee, so I'm obviously the southern part of Wisconsin, right on Lake
Mhm.
Michigan. I apparently can't get away from the lake, but to go back up there a couple weeks ago with a buddy from here, and kind of go home, so to speak.
Mhm.
Just a place that I grew up fishing for so long was really, really fun experience. And I think
Yeah.
anytime you do that, no matter what it is, whether it's fishing or hunting, if there's a place you go where you've gone to a lot, or where you grew up on so and so farm or whatever, and you go back there, it always just has like a different feel, and
Oh,
like
100%. Yeah.
even if you're not as successful, say you're going on a whitetail hunt and you don't see anything, still just being there, it has a different feel.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. That the memories, the nostalgia, the roots, the hunting roots, the hunting heritage that we all share. That's a very personal hunt when you do something like that. That's fun, man. I love that stuff. So, I do, like I said earlier, man, I do a ton of podcasts. I'm very fortunate to do that. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's your favorite place to turkey hunt? And it's really it's Southern Ohio with my son and my best friend Kenny. Like that's it, man. And it's because of those two. It's not because of the terrain. I mean, like I like the Everglades way better than I like Southern Ohio. But when you ask about my favorite hunt, it's always the ones with those guys. Like my son, he just shot his first turkey on Friday. Like that's freaking cool, man. All the turkeys that I've killed this year, I completed a grand slam this year. That's freaking awesome. My son, hunting, killing his first bird on Friday. That was the yelping that thing up. That was the best hunt that I've ever had. It was awesome, man. So,
You mentioned traveling around places. One of the things I
mhm.
wanted to talk to you about was the big accomplishment that you just accomplished a couple of weeks ago when it comes to
Yeah,
turkeys. You got to talk about that.
man, it was a good one. Yeah. So for people that aren't turkey hunters, there are four subspecies in the United States, four main subspecies. So they're eastern wild turkeys, which east of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi, kind of that northern tier, all the way down to the southeast. That's where your eastern turkeys are. Your Osceolas are only in Florida, and really like the bottom 2/3 of the state is considered Osceola territory. You've got Merriam's, which are the western mountain birds, Great Plains turkeys, and you've got Rio Grandes, which are Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, some into California. So when you kill all those, that's your grand slam. The fifth subspecies that we have in this country, not very many areas. The Gould's turkey, they are like small slivers of Arizona, New Mexico, primarily in northern Mexico. That would be like your royal slam. And then the ocellated on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, which is kind of like the cross between a peacock and a turkey. That would be your world slam. So there are your slams for killing turkeys. So I did the Grand Slam, completed that. I killed an Osceola in 2023 down in southern Florida.
That's
Thank
a
you.
great accomplishment. That's really, really cool because of the commitment you have to have. There's
Yeah.
there's there's the travel, there's the learning the different terrain. Each of these species, I feel, is slightly different.
Oh
So
yeah.
you've got to
Yeah.
pick up nuances and so many different things. So like I think to kill 3 different species of turkey is an amazing, but then to go 4, and then you mentioned, you can go 5, 6, like
Mhm.
it's a really impressive thing. Honestly, I've never personally face to face seen, met, talked to someone who's completed a grand slam until right now in this moment.
Oh,
So
no kidding. Look at that. That's cool, man.
see, here we go, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kind of piggyback off of your point, man, the terrain is the biggest thing that's so different. I mean, I hunted Osceolas like literally in the swamps of the Everglades. I mean, that's wild, man. I saw a freaking like puma or Florida panther. I saw one of those. There's giant pythons, man. Like it's just crazy to the hardwoods of Ohio, the hill country and Texas, and then finally the sand hills in Nebraska for the Merriams. Like it's so vastly different. And the turkeys were, a turkey is a turkey, right? But they have different mannerisms. They have different like characteristics in the way that they act and the way that they hunt and the way that you have to hunt them. And so I talked to a lot of people. One guy in particular, Andrew Noble, really good friend of mine. He's a really good turkey hunter, and he's done a couple of grand slams. You talk to him about like the nuances between how the birds act, how each subspecies acts, and that all of that came into play. When on this trip this year. So, man, it was cool. It was a ton of fun. And Shaun, if you would ask me like 3 years ago, like, oh, are you gonna try to do a grand slam? I'm like, nah, it's not really that important. It wasn't important until I shot in Osceola, and then I'm like, well, I could probably do one. And then someone invited me on a Rio Grande hunt, and then it was just like it was all I could think about, So
Yeah.
then I had to find a Merriam's hunt, which I went out and did with Mike Larson, his son Wyatt. So it became real important after that, and I have been a mess about it since like once like turkey season comes into focus for me and a lot of turkey hunters across this country, which is the week of the National Wild Turkey Federation's convention, the week of Valentine's Day. That's like the kickoff to turkey season. And so when that happened, man, it was like my brain switched over to that Rio hunt, which was my first hunt of the year. And it was, man, I killed that Rio and it was like my brain just melted down. So, the pressure was on for the Merriams to complete the slam.
Of all 4 of those subspecies of wild turkeys, which
Mhm.
one would you say, Paul, was maybe the most difficult? Whether it was a terrain related thing or just like the birds themselves?
Man, that's a good question. I'm gonna say the Osceola was probably the hardest and most difficult. Just the terrain that I was hunting in. I mean, it was flat as a pancake, right? If you've ever been to the Everglades or like southern Florida, I mean, there's no elevation change. Like the
Let
elevation change are like 5 foot little sand hills. Like that's it.
3/4 of the
Um,
state of Florida is nothing but flat swampland. I mean, it is just giant.
yeah.
It is basically a
Yep.
swamp that someday probably will not be a state because it'll be underwater.
Right. Yeah.
That and
But it's
Louisiana will disappear.
Yeah, oh man, I hope not. Let's keep those birds and turkeys and good food and fine people. Let's keep them above water,
I'm
right?
I'm
But
I'm
you
with
can't
you on
control
that.
that.
It's yeah.
So, but that was probably the hardest, man. I mean, just because it like one day it was like 96 and I'm just freaking sweating, man. And I missed the so when we're in the Everglades, you have to have like an ORV tag. And so I I missed the place closed like a half hour before I got there. So I couldn't get my tag, and they only issue those like Wednesdays and Sundays or something weird like that, right? And I got there Wednesday, like a half hour after they closed, and I'm like, well, I just gotta hunt it out, like just the first day I was there, I walked 9 miles, 9 freaking miles just to get to like the area that I wanted, like where I know there are gonna be turkeys here. 9 miles. This dude was miserable. And I had to walk 9 miles back,
Yeah,
and
wow.
so I didn't I so I full disclosure, I didn't actually kill that turkey in the Everglades. I hunted a few of them. I spent 3 days there. I slept out of my Tahoe. It was funny, man. I told this story to Dave Owens, for those turkey hunters. He runs the Pinhoti Project. He's a really good turkey hunter, good guy. We had kind of a shared experience, man. I set my tent up in Florida, and when you're in the Everglades, like I was 16 miles from like the nearest dirt road. Like, I mean, it is very, very remote. You don't think of Florida being like backcountry, but I mean, where you're at, I mean, so 60 miles from like the nearest dirt road, but like 30 miles from like a freeway. I mean, it's like you are in the middle of nowhere, and I am by myself, and I set my tent up, and I'm it's first night there, and I'm settling in, and I hear something splashing in like the swamp water behind me, and I hear like the craziest noises, and I have no idea what there are. I'm like, nope, not sleeping in this tent tonight,
Nope.
and slept in my Tahoe the rest of the time I was down in the glades, man. Because it's freaking wild down there, man. I mean, just the sounds, and so that very next morning when I go out for my first hunt, I mean, it is pitch black, and I'm just standing, kind of like on this road, and I'm looking into this swamp that I have to walk through, and I'm like, oh, and it's like an exercise in like mental toughness, right? And it's
Yeah.
like you take the first step, you're going to take the rest of them. But it was a little nerve wracking because I'm by myself. I mean, there's literally nobody at this campsite. It is me, and there is nobody else that I can see. And it was pretty it was pretty
Man.
adventurous, man. So, but that was definitely the hardest, man. And like where I ended up killing my turkey in LaBelle County, which is still in that like southern tier of the state. Um, I was hunting like a cypress swamp, which is just, I mean, it's just the mosquitoes are
Yeah.
insane. There's snakes. There's just all this crazy stuff, and it's just blazing hot. And it's just one of those like you're not used to it, and it's the one thing is turkey hunters, like we know, like in Wisconsin or Michigan or Ohio or Indiana, it doesn't matter where you're at, right? Like early season when there's no leaves, you can hear turkeys pretty far. Into the end of the season when they gobble when everything's leafed out, like that they're closer. When Florida, like I didn't even think of this, it's so leafed out and so thick. The first turkey gobble that I actually heard in the Everglades, I took like 3 steps and it was 30 yards from me. But like he sounded like farther away, but it was so it was just because and there's so
Your
much
mind.
noise, like the bugs. Yeah, man. And I was just like, oh, that's a tough lesson, tough lesson to learn. So,
First
you
time
know,
doing that, and that's where I say I think it's such a great accomplishment to have to learn that. Um,
yeah.
do you hunt all public land, or do you kind of search out and try and find and sometimes do private stuff?
I will 95% of my turkey hunting and turkey kills are public land. I am not like there's one thing and I love them to death. I'm gonna throw them under the bus a little bit, but the Okayest boys, they deer hunt turkeys. And that drives me nuts. It doesn't drive me nuts that people do that. It drives me nuts to do it. Like I'd rather like drink bleach than deer hunt a turkey. Right. I can't sit in a ground blind and just sit there over a decoy. I start freaking out, man. And I'm like, I can hear a turkey gobbling over there. I got to get up. Like there's going to be something that's ready to die. I can't sit here any longer. I freak out. And I just got to get up.
So do you? So
And
you're a run and gun. You're a moving
oh,
mobile.
absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. I can't. I've killed a lot of turkeys, Shaun. I killed my first turkey over decoy last year. It's not because like I'm not anti decoy. I don't want anyone to think that. It's just I don't like carrying them around,
Yeah.
I'm walking 7 or 8, 10, 15 miles a day. That's the last thing that I want to that I want to carry around is a decoy. So yeah, man, it just get up and moving. That's how I like to be. So
I love
yeah,
that.
that's it.
I'm the same way. I love being mobile. It's the sitting around thing, and I've done both. I've done the it's over, over just like a straight up big Tom, but I've also done the trying to move around
Mhm.
and chase them down. And fortunately, a lot of times, and I mean, I've got a story a couple of years ago when I was doing that. I'd gotten out and gobblers start gobbling just a little bit over a ridge, pretty close, and I'm like, okay. It was still dark. I'm like, okay, so I can try and get down to him, and I start getting down the way, quiet, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna set here. And I set, and they gobble, and then I start kind of working back with them and closer. And I'm like, okay. So I wait it out, and they start getting a little farther. And this is where you know the
Mhm.
mistake that I made.
You
Then I'm
stood
like,
up.
all right, well, so I keep pushing farther on, and I got nothing. So finally I start making some noise. They start gobbling again, move farther. That was the mistake. Then they walked themselves into private land, and I couldn't get, then they just sat there
Yeah.
literally back and just like, hey, come get me, come get me. They were like, hey, hen, come get me,
Yeah.
I'm here. And I totally
Yeah.
played into it. Huge mistake. And
Yeah.
it was like second time, but I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Tell me. Less.
Yeah, man, turkeys are funny like that, and they'll sing that siren song, man, and they'll pull you right up that hill or right across that property, and um, especially early in the morning, I am a firm believer that turkeys, they have something in their mind that they want to do. And if you're not in like the perfect spot that's kind of in between them and what they want to do in the morning, I think you're gonna have like a really, really tough time hunting them. It can definitely be done, right? But that moving through the woods, that cat and mouse game, that's the part that I love,
It's
and
fun. It was literally it was one of the most fun turkey hunts that I've ever been on because of that,
yeah,
because it was that cat and mouse. It was nature. And it was just, man, I was so jacked up in that. I got out. I was like, I made the mistake. That was dumb, but damn, that was fun.
yeah, it is fun, man. I learned a couple years ago, if I've got turkeys that if I'm moving towards them and they're just they want to be somewhere, but they're reacting to me, right? I've walked away from them and called,
To try
and then
and get him to follow you.
they're like, oh, wait a minute, she's leaving. And then if you can re-engage them at that point, like game on. But if they still are moving away, at that point, man, I'm gonna find something else to do and someone else to hunt. Because dude, I'd follow those turkeys to the gates of hell if I had to, if I didn't stop myself. So,
Your podcast, Turkey
but
Season, what exactly is it
yeah,
all about? Is it mainly focused on like turkey tips, tactics, turkey professional? Like, what if people are
yeah,
interested in more in turkey hunting, they want to check out Turkey Season? What
yeah.
expect, Paul?
So if you want to learn to hunt, like if you want like the tips and tricks and tactics and whatever you want to call it, it's definitely not that kind of podcast. My buddy Jace does he took over my old podcast, the How to Hunt Turkeys podcast. If you want to like learn to turkey hunt, that's where you go. So I focus primarily on just like the people, on the hunting culture, the heritage that surrounds turkey hunting, the history that surrounds turkey hunting, the people that do it, the places that we do it, the bird itself. So that's been the focus there. It's everything. It's everything about turkey hunting except for like the actual act of pulling the trigger. And sure, there's some turkey killing stories in there, but it's not the focus, right? It's not the main heart and soul of that show and that brand, really. So I think that turkey hunters are what make turkey hunting unique. Just like deer hunting, and it's at the people, right? The people are what make it unique. And if you allow yourself to get to know those people and get to know the history and enjoy the culture and the heritage that surrounds turkey hunting or deer hunting or smallmouth fishing, I think that you're really, like, one, you're going to learn something, but two, I think you're going to have a deeper appreciation, deeper respect for what we do, where we do it, who we do it with, and what we're chasing, the animals that we're chasing. And that to me, that's what it's, Turkey Season, the podcast and the brand is about, is that reverence and that respect for the people, places, and the bird itself. So
That is awesome. And I think that's the heart of what this show is exactly that. But instead of just turkeys, it's literally looking at, that aspect of the people in all aspects of the
yeah,
outdoors. Because like I said, when we first, immediately opened the show and got talking, was the fact that, we don't just do one thing. As outdoors people, we tend to do a lot of different things in the outdoors. And so,
mhm,
this is the place for everybody to come gather
yeah,
to chit
yeah,
chat and share stories about that. And one of the things that when I'm sitting around chit chatting with people, we're usually going to end up talking about food too. And this is a conversation that,
oh yeah,
so someone literally said to me today, "You wild turkeys, aren't they really gamey?" And I was like, "No. Once you go wild, you don't go to the grocery store."
yeah,
Like, I about fell over
that's
backwards when they
right.
made that statement. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, man. So that first off, let's address that gamey comment, right? When people were like, "Oh, I don't like deer. I had it, 20 years ago. It was too gamey for me." Okay, well, you probably had someone that didn't cook it the way that they didn't prepare it the way that they should, right? And so
Didn't
we
clean
all
it.
know, if we're hunters, yes, they didn't clean it, they didn't take the silver skin off, whatever it is, and then so you're like, this is tough, and it's like, no, the person that cooked you, deer meat to well done, covered in freaking Kraft Italian dressing, like they didn't do it justice, man. So first off, that's where that gamey, and I always I always shake my head when people say gamey. I'm like, why don't you come over, man? Come over to my house and I'll cook for you. I love to cook, man. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I had someone say same thing. Well, isn't wild turkey a little gamey? No, not at all. If anything, that freaking turkey you buy at Walmart has a gamey, more of a gamey taste
Right.
than the wild turkey version does. So no, man, but keep thinking that, right? If I think that there is a way to prepare wild turkey properly. take all that silver skin, that gelatinous goo, the tendons that are running through the breast, that little cartilage, dense tissue. I'm not sure what the heck it is. Get that stuff out of there, right? And if because if people eat that and you get those like that little cartilage or that tendon that's running through the breast, it is chewy. But if you take that out, it's a wonderful, wonderful culinary experience. That I love it. So
Are
yeah,
you
once you go wide, you're not going back. I like that. Good statement.
are you a breasts only person, or you shake it out with the herd?
So if I'm at home, I will take the whole bird. Um, if I'm traveling, I'll take the back straps. Or like the little tenderloins that run down the spine of the turkey. I'll take all of the breast meat. Um, Sometimes I'll take the thighs. It depends on how much like space I have, right? If I've got it like if I kill a turkey and I'm not going to be home for like 5 or 6 days, like that breast meat and all that, I can get into like 1 gallon size bag and freeze it in the hotel, cooler or whatever it is, and it's just easier to transport. This year on a couple turkeys, I took the legs and I did like wild turkey. I just like cooked them in a crock pot and then I made like turkey tacos with it, which is pretty
Mm.
good. It's a good way to do it. Um, so
Yeah, I've
if
done
if I do keep,
thighs and legs. I've done in
Mhm.
the pot, Minnesota style cream of mushroom soup, and then you pour it over rice
Oh yeah,
and all the bone,
oh
all,
that
and then
sounds
you
good.
crock pot it. Yeah, so it cooks out all of the gelatinous stuff. And you're just braising it off, and again, it kind of creates
Hmm.
this little like turkey gravy you put over some wild rice. Woo.
Oh man, that's some good Northwoods eating right there, Sean. I'm gonna if I kill a Michigan turkey in the next couple of days, I'm gonna do that. I got a whole bunch of Minnesota wild rice up in my cabinet, in my
There you
pantry. So
go,
I'm gonna. That sounds like that's a good idea. I like that. I like that idea. You speak my language.
some good
So,
stuff. Yeah, it's one of
oh,
those.
absolutely, yeah,
Whenever I see people talk about not taking the whole bird, I'm like, no, 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 don't do that. Don't
mm,
do. You got to take the whole. There's so much, at
yeah,
least the eyes to me that are. It's. I'm a dark meat person, so like you get around
mhm.
any sort of bird. Like we go to the grocery store and pick up a rotisserie, right? Throw some chickens on the rotisserie, whatever else. It's like you can have everything else. I want the eyes. I want
Yeah,
that dark.
man. Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I'm telling you, if you brine a wild turkey and you smoke it or roast it, it doesn't get any better than that. And that brine is crucial for sure, in my opinion. But yeah, you're selling yourself short if you're just cutting the breasts out and chucking everything else out in the pen. So
Anything else you want anyone to know, or you want to just share, or you want to perhaps share one of your okayest moments of recency? Because let's be real, just okay at things and just trying to do a little more okay today than
yeah.
we did yesterday.
Yeah, no, yeah, man. I'll tell you, I'm a full time employee of the National Wild Turkey Federation, so I get to talk about wild turkey, turkey hunting, conservation, literally 365 days a year, man. On Christmas morning, I sit down at some point and I fire off text messages to important people, within my network about within the NWTF, and I think that as turkey populations struggle across the country, there's a lot of people are really paying attention to that population, those population challenges in different parts of the country. And so the mission of that organization, the conservation of the wild turkey, the preservation of our hunting heritage, has never been more important than it is right now. With the need for wild turkey research, funding critical, novel research, right? Not doing the same things that we did back in the 90s and early 2000s. Trying to understand what the wild turkey needs and what we can control as land managers and conservationists. So that's something that's very, very important to me. That people, I'm not saying just like, I don't want this to be a sales pitch for the NWTF. It's $35 a year to be a member of the NWTF. It's 35 members to be a member of the National Deer Association. It's $35, pheasants forever, quail forever, ducks unlimited, $35, right? So if something is passionate to you as a sportsman, as an outdoorsman, and some of the fishing organizations, waterways for wildlife, all of these things, like, take the time to learn about those organizations, learn about how important it is to be just an annual member, where your money goes, how it's spent. That's a very crucial thing. I think in today's day and age, we're putting more pressure on the resource as hunters, as anglers, as more people come into it. The days of just buying your license and buying some hunting equipment and having the windfall profits from, Pittman
Pittman
Robertson.
Robertson, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
those days
that's
are
not enough. Yeah.
no, those days are gone, man. And that's not a bad thing, right? So there's a lot of opportunity for people to help the resource in this scenario being the wild turkey. The National Wild Turkey Federation is doing a tremendous amount of work through our members and volunteers and state agency partners across the country. So it's something very, very important to me. I'm very passionate about that organization, the work that we do, on behalf of our membership and hunters across the country. So there's a stat that just, quite honestly, man, it just like makes me just angry. That less than 10% of wild turkey hunters in this country are members of the National Wild Turkey Federation. Less than 10%. Think about that. You talk to National Deer Association, it's even lower.
Yeah.
And so they're and people don't care about something until they start to lose it. And so that's kind of where we're at with turkeys, and you'd hate to, like Wisconsin, you guys have some population issues, some CWD issues, and that's a bigger topic that we can't get into because I don't know really anything about it. But
We will go
there's
down that rabbit hole on this very show at some point.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm very vocal about as well in that whole issue. And I mean, I will just say one thing. Our state is the case study of what not to do. Like, we screwed it up so bad.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the issues we have. That's my opinion. We've screwed it up so bad, and now we have to fight our way out of it. Let's face it, disease and things, they're inevitable. No species is, able to not have that sort of thing. But there's measures that we probably could have done earlier to better manage perhaps here.
Yeah.
And, so that's, I'm always like, you don't have it in your state. Look at Wisconsin and don't do what we did. And that's not that we don't have great populations. We don't have great hunting opportunity. There's just our amount of chronic wasting disease is incredibly high, and especially in very small areas, compared to other parts of the country.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. And that's the stuff that, I think that the best relationships are life, the ones that you can be like, I want to be critical of, a state agency when they need it, right? When it's just like, hey, we really screwed up. And, and people with me, like, if I mess something up, I welcome criticism, right? I want to be better. I want to learn.
We all make mistakes. We're all just okay at everything.
Yeah,
we're
that's
just
right.
Okay. Man. We're not perfect. We're just okay.
Yeah, you're dang right. So yeah, that's it, man. I'm passionate about turkeys, conservation, about turkey hunters. It's very important to me. I think the turkey hunting is kind of like a crossroads in this country. There's a lot of really interesting conversations online about respect for the turkey and respect for the resource and doing things, and once again, air quotes, the right way. And it's a very neat conversation to have. I want people to enjoy turkey hunting. I want them to be safe. I want them to have a lot of fun, and I want them to just do everything that we can as turkey hunters, to make sure that we have turkeys for generations to come, because there's a very neat, unique history of conservationists it was led by hunters to reestablish wild turkey populations in this country. That's special. That's a special thing to be a part of. And I love it. So
they're such cool birds too. One of those birds that a lot of people would look at it and be like, oh, that's ugly. Yeah. I think they're beautiful. I think wild turkeys are absolutely just beautiful birds.
Yeah, they are, dude. And here's, I don't know if you can see. So this is the beard. I mean, and it just, the iridescence off of these turkeys.
Yes, you don't realize the other, like, goldeneye ducks is another one where you look at it like, oh, it's just like a black head with a white spot, by the bill. Yeah. No, those drakes, like, it is an iridescent purple, green.
I love that. Yeah.
It's that just shimmers to all different colors, and you'd never see it. Similar to like a mallard on their wing, how they kind of have that on the blue. The whole head of a bufflehead, of a goldeneye is that. But you'd look at it like flying, or you see that it's just black. No, it's not. It's just like gorgeous iridescent, and they're such fast, beautiful birds.
Oh man, they're beautiful. Yep.
I've got such an affinity for especially diver ducks and wild turkeys as far as birds go. I think they are some of the coolest, most beautiful birds in the world.
Yeah, man, they're so vain, which I love it, man. This all birds are, right? The strutting and the carrying on. I just love it, man. They're so funny. If you just, that's one thing. Once again, as I've gotten older, man, I just when I do get the time to just watch turkeys being turkeys, I just absorb it, man. I love it because they're just the most absurd creatures on the face of the earth, man. They're just, if you could put a mirror in the woods, I don't know, they'd probably stand there the entire day and just
Stare at
strut.
themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
a funny theory I have about, like, when you mentioned organizations and, hunting traditions,
mhm.
I feel like a lot of times you hear people will call it deer and all these. You ever is like don't kill birds, right? This is my theory. Birds and fish get the pass. You know why? They don't have eyelashes. People only care about things with eyelashes.
Yeah.
But a bird ain't got no eyelashes. Nobody cares about that. Fish, they ain't got eyelashes. Nobody cares about that. But you come for a deer or you come for a rabbit, little bunny rabbit. They got those cute eyelashes. We don't like
Yeah.
that.
That's funny. And that's a great point, man. I'm fortunate to do a lot of work with our state agencies, in Ohio and Tennessee and Pennsylvania. And the a lot of the anti-hunting groups are focused primarily on like predators. They're focused on coyotes and wolves, not necessarily wolves here in Ohio, like bobcats and like fishers or whatever. And they're very like anti like killing any of those animals, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's because the domesticated versions of those are what they're in love with, but that
Right.
wild animal would kill your domestic cat in a heartbeat.
Your
If
domestic cat would
the
kill you if it could. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously,
absolutely,
cats
man.
hate you. If you didn't feed it and clean its box, it would murder you. And
Yeah,
seriously, it's laying there right now, silently plotting your
yeah.
death. That's what cats
Man,
are. Cat's gonna
did
cat.
you listen to the Theo Vaughn podcast? You listen to that? We're going down a rabbit hole here, Sean. Buckle up.
I don't. I know people that get
Okay.
into it. Too much other things happening in life,
Yeah.
and certain things about Theo I find entertaining, and certain things just like, whoa, bro, too much. I can't with
100%.
that.
Yep. No, totally agree with that. And people probably feel the same about me. But I've listened to a couple of those podcasts, and one that he did was with a coroner from like Louisiana, right? And this guy talked about how like a cat, like within like hours after you die, will start eating you. Like hours, like you die at 9 and at noon they're eating your face. And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, it's every single one. He's like, if someone has a cat and they're dead in their house, just hours old, a cat is eating them. I'm like, that is crazy, man.
Telling you, cats
That-
are gonna cat. That's why do you put? I look at like why do people put these things in your homes?
yeah,
They're
I
evil
love cats.
creatures.
They
El
are evil
Diablo, El
creatures.
Diablo, Diablo
Yeah,
Gato.
that's funny. Man, I was at the state of Ohio. We have like they call it a wildlife diversity symposium, and it's like it's like stakeholders from all parts of like the wildlife conservation arena, right? So conservation groups like NWTF or farmers and bird folks and herpetologists, reptiles, and like everyone that you could possibly think of, right? And the reptile, like the herpetologists, they get so upset with the bird people and because they talk about like the work that's done and that's funded on the back of birds. And so this one guy's like, man, I've been working with the nearly extinct hellbender. Do you know what a hellbender is?
I don't
You ever
know
heard of this
offhand.
thing?
No.
Google it, man. Google like a picture of the hellbender. It is one of the craziest. And I want everyone listening to the show, just Google hellbender. All right. It's like one of the native lizards that we have. You probably have in Wisconsin. We got them in Ohio and Michigan and Pennsylvania. I know they have them. These things look like they are aptly named, right? Hellbender. It looks like this thing came out of a freaking horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
You
very
see it, you see,
dinosaur-esque.
it's crazy. And some of them they get massive. Well, this guy has spent like his life's work is repairing streams these things live in and like rebuilding populations. He's been very successful in like northeastern Ohio of rebuilding like hellbender habitat. And he's like, man, I can't get any funding for it. But someone comes in and wants to like redo 5 million acres because some freaking blue bird nests there once every 3 generations. He's like, they get $5 million. And he was like bent like angry about the work that's done on the back of birds. And I'm like, man, that's a good point, man. But good thing I'm here for birds. So
I feel like I feel like I've caught one of these these things, but referred to as like a mud puppy or a salamander. You know that?
yeah,
Like that's
that's
what they look like. It looks like kind of like almost like a meaner, just like dinosaur-like salamander.
yeah,
If it makes sense.
the big old fat heads on them. And I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine if you were just sitting there fishing and it's dark and night catfishing or something, and you look down and one of those things was coming out of the water at you at 10 mile an hour?
Nope.
Like
Hard
No.
pass.
Yeah,
Hope
they
of
get up
nope.
to
That's what I'm calling on that one.
yeah,
See ya.
they get over 2 feet long. Think of that. Like, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That's all I got for the Hellbender talk.
All right. Well, hey, I don't want to take too much time. We appreciate it. Everything you do. Again, the
Well,
website,
Shaun, thank you, man. Yeah.
turkeyseason.com. I think it's really cool. I love the work you're doing, Paul. It just all around between the stuff that you're presenting turkey hunters and the turkey hunting community really, really well. So it's
Well, thank
really
you,
cool
man.
to have you on.
Oh, my
Doors
pleasure.
always open. There's always a stool at camp. You know, you can hang and sip some coffee or whatever at any point in time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Shaun, thanks for the opportunity to come on and talk, to you and your audience, and good luck with the podcast, man. Anything I can do to help you, just let me know. And yeah, really appreciate the opportunity and everything you said about turkeyseason.com. It's been a labor of love for sure, and a lot of really cool things coming our way. So,
All right, people want to find you on socials. Where do you go, Paul?
so you can find me, Paul Campbell 322 on Instagram. I also have a Facebook that I check about once a quarter. And I think it's Paul Campbell 322 as well. I'm honestly not sure. I'm sure you could search it and find it. And then I have a Go Wild account. You just type in Paul Campbell and Go Wild, and you'll find me on there as well. So,
all right, go find Paul Campbell, search out Turkey Season, the podcast. We'll catch you next week where we eat a hellbender.